May 20th. On this day in 1971, during the Bangladesh Liberation War, the quiet village of Chuknagar in Bangladesh became the site of one of the worst massacres committed in South Asian history. Thousands of Hindu refugees had gathered in that village, fleeing the widespread crackdown by the Pakistani Army in Khulna, Jashore, and nearby regions, but safety never came. On that tragic day, Pakistani forces, assisted by the local collaborators, primarily known as Razakars, affiliated with Jamaat-e-Islami, opened fire on the unarmed refugees who were gathering there to move to India to a safe space. In just 3 to 4 hours, an estimated 10,000 to 12,000 men, women, and elderly, even breastfeeding babies, were slaughtered, mercilessly gunned down. But this was no isolated incident. This was not in a fog of war. This Chuknagar massacre was a deliberate, premeditated act. Pakistani military orchestrated the gathering of Hindus in one place so that they can carry out mass slaughter easily. To understand the roots of this tragedy, we must return to the complex and painful history of the Indian subcontinent. In 1947, the British Empire made a hasty exit from India, carved the subcontinent based on religion into two nations, a Hindu majority India and a Muslim majority Pakistan, the latter consisting of two geographically and culturally distinct wings, West and East Pakistan. What followed was one of the bloodiest chapters in human history. Millions of Hindus, Muslims, and Sikhs were uprooted overnight, forced to migrate across hastily drawn lines. In this chaos, countless lives were lost to communal violence and families were broken forever. This tragic partition was driven by the two-nation theory, a political ideology propagated by Muhammad Ali Jinnah, the founder of Pakistan, which claimed that Hindus and Muslims were two separate nations that could not coexist. However, this communal foundation was soon exposed as deeply flawed when Bengalis in East Pakistan, despite being Muslim, rose up against the domination of the Punjabi ruling elite in West Pakistan. Shared religion, after all, proved insufficient to bridge the stark differences in language, culture, and political aspirations between the two regions. In 1971, the tensions reached to a point of no return and erupted into unimaginable horror. In response to the Bengali demand for autonomy, Pakistani military unleashed a campaign of mass atrocities in East Pakistan. Pakistani journalist Anthony Mascarenhas, who witnessed the atrocities firsthand while traveling with the army, fled to Britain, fearing for his and his family's safety, published the groundbreaking article Genocide in the Sunday Times, offering the world its first direct account of Pakistan Army's brutality. According to Mascarenhas, the Pakistani ruling class followed a chilling three-pronged strategy to solve the so-called Bengali problem. 1. Bengalis deemed inferior must be ruled by West Pakistanis, primarily Punjabis. 2. Re-educate Bengalis to make them more Islamic through state-sponsored Islamization. 3. Scapegoat the minority Hindus who must be exterminated as the root cause of the problem and seize their wealth and property for redistribution. That's the blueprint of 9-month-long 1971 genocide and series genocide in Chuknagar. On May 19, the Pakistani army arrived by gunboat at the village called Fultola near Khulna, splitting into several groups. They raided homes in Fultola, Boshurabad, Debitola and surrounding areas, indiscriminately shooting civilians. Many were dragged from their homes and taken to Badamtola Bazaar, where they were lined up and executed. Terrified survivors from these villages fled to Chuknagar, which at that time was considered a safe place to gather for people who were heading towards safe refuge in India. By May 18 and 19th, according to local witnesses and historians, hundreds of thousands of internally displaced people had arrived in Chuknagar from Bagerhat, Rampal, Khandalganj, Sharankola, Mongla, Dako, Batiaghata, Chaul, and even as far as Faridpur and Borishal district. When the massacre began, panic swept through the gathered crowd. People tried to flee. Some climbed trees, others hid in boats, fields, or behind bushes. But few found safety. The Pakistani Army opened fire from all three directions. The massacre lasted until 4 p.m. According to survivors and historians, over 10,000 people were killed in the bloodbath. But the killing did not end there. On May 21, a convoy of Pakistani soldiers in 2 trucks was en route to Satkhira from Jashore. In Pathorghata village near Jhaudanga Bazar, a local peace committee member, a known collaborator, informed them. After a brief conversation, the army took positions on a culvert south of the market. As refugees saw Pakistani troops, they began to flee once again, but Pakistani troops opened fire. Those who were captured, many wounded, were lined up on the culvert and executed. These horrors are not myths, they are corroborated and confirmed by the living survivors, by historians and genocide researchers. They are the darkest chapters of our living memories. One such survivor is Shikha Bishash. She was only 16 years old and luckily survived all 3 serious genocides. Researchers confirm that serious genocides like this took place in many parts of then East Pakistan, now Bangladesh. The genocide committed in 1971 by Pakistani Army and their local collaborators claimed an estimated 3 million lives. In addition to the killing, Pakistani Army systematically used rape as a weapon of war with an intent to alter the ethnic fabric of the nation. According to international observers, journalists, and diplomats who documented the war and its atrocities, the primary target of the genocide was Bengali Hindus. The motive? Ethno-religious hatred and a desire for racial and religious supremacy. While the atrocities initially appeared indiscriminate, prompting both Hindus and Muslims to flee for safety, over the time as Pakistan Army grabs their control over the country, it became systematically targeted. What followed was nothing but systematic Hindu Holocaust. This fact was also reflected in the demographics of the number of refugees. More than 10 million refugees fled to neighboring India. Of those, around 85% were Hindus, despite Hindus comprising only about 14% of the population of East Pakistan. This is the secret dossier that was published by CIA in September 1971, 6 months after the genocide and war started. This secret dossier has some chilling information and statistics about the number of refugees and their demographics. According to the dossier, since March 1971, over 8 million of the 76 million East Pakistanis have already fled to India. And in the early stage of war, around 100,000 people daily fled to India, which has fallen to 20,000 to 30,000 per day in September. 80 to 90% of those fleeing have been Hindus. This report also claims that refugee flow will only stop only when nearly all the Hindus have finally crossed the border, and some 6 million plus have already left Pakistan. The remaining 3-4 million may not be far behind. Also, the report noted that the East Pakistan had experienced one of the largest and most rapid population transfers in modern times, and the CIA had a blunt explanation for this incredible migration. Many, if not most of the Hindus fled for fear of their lives. My own parents were among them. Surviving genocide, they fled to neighboring Indian border state Tripura, where they remained the entire 8 months of the genocide. Yet to this day, the genocide is not internationally recognized, and Pakistan has never officially apologized for that recognition. Now, Bangladesh genocide remains as one of the darkest chapters of America's foreign policy. The Nixon-Kissinger administration had openly supported Pakistan during the war, both diplomatically and militarily. In 2022, House Resolution 1430 was introduced in the US Congress by Representative Steve Chabot, where it remains stalled by geopolitical interests, fanatical lobbies by Jamaat-e-Islami and other factions, and the lingering shadow of Cold War era complicity, which continues to impede justice and recognition to the living survivors and victims of the genocide. But even amid horror, the humanity survived. Let me tell you this beautiful story. After the Chuknagar massacre, a local Bengali Muslim man named Eshad Ali Mondal found a crying 2-month-old baby lying next to the lifeless body of her mother, just like a beautiful flower amid the pool of blood. He recognized she was Hindu by identifying her mother's sindur, which is a symbol of red vermilion adorned by married Hindu women. Eshad Ali brought the orphan girl home and named her Sundari Bala, which literally means beautiful girl, as her real identity had been lost due to the bloodbath of the war. Sundari Bala of Chuknagar and Eshad Ali Mondal stand today as living testaments of triumph of compassion over cruelty and humanity over hatred. On this day, let's remember the victims, honor the survivors, and let's not stop seeking truth and justice, for without recognition, the healing is never complete. Thank you for watching.